Steve, what's going on?
Oh, thank you, Scott. Off mute, ready to go. Hello, everybody. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, let's get started. Trade of the week. Got some stuff to talk about this week, but as the usual, suspects file on in and grab their seats. We'll just go over the lead-in slides, a reminder, the disclaimer. Andy and myself are traders of our own accounts, plural, and also employees of Trade Ideas. But we're going to give some opinions in this webinar, and those opinions are our own. They're not to be construed trade ideas, opinions, nor should they be considered financial advice for you guys. So just get that out of the way so everybody understands where we're coming from. Andy and I have been using this product for a long time. That's where we are coming from. And we recognize that to the initial first user, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers of this program, and it doesn't really come to you overnight. That's why we do the test drives that Scott mentioned a minute ago. We're actually going to be bumping up our frequency of test drives every couple of months going forward. And so it's a great opportunity to just try all the bells and whistles, but the test drives go for 2 weeks for a reason. We found that 1 week just really wasn't enough time to kind of grasp the depth and the feature richness of trade ideas. So 2 weeks is a much better time to kind of get the learning curve if you're brand new. So we get that, and people are coming and going every day with subscriptions, and we point them in the right direction to help them try and get that learning curve shortened as best possible. The best way to do it is always Barry's live trading room. Great information in there. Those guys are very good day traders. If there's action, they're going to be on it that day. So you can literally save yourself the 75 to 100 bucks or 99 bucks or whatever they're charging out there. The other furus that want to get your money for the kind of information that Barry's giving you. Now, aside from all that, daily market info, he is a tremendous resource for us in support. We send people to him there all the time for him to demonstrate something to a new user. So if you're not taking advantage of Barry's generous time and desktop sharing, please do so. It's there for a reason. Now, we give him a break every day, noon Eastern. Michael did it today. Sean did it yesterday. I'll do it tomorrow. Jamie does it Thursday, Andy will do it Friday. We give Barry a break and we kind of come in and take over the YouTube feed of his room and answer any questions. So again, another wonderful place that recurs every 24 hours will be there. And we're waiting for people to come in that are new users and say, hey, I love the program, which they do. But how would I find top gainers that gap down, blah, 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 things like that. We can help you in real time, help you shorten that learning curve because we recognize there is a learning curve. And there it is right there. There is the link if you have not been to the live trading room or the live YouTube stream that we do at noon. That's the link you're going to want to use to redirect you there. All right, as usual, the weeks just fly by. It seems like I'm kind of redefining this every week, but it's something to constantly redefine and remind ourselves of, especially in this day and age with the technology we have out there in every single sector. We're focused on the financial sector, but to do it right, the human can't do it alone and the machine can't do it alone. It's a symbiotic relationship, and that's really what we do at Trade Ideas is we let the machine and the technology curate the fire hose of data that is this market, 9,000 symbols all doing something at once, and we break it down to something that you want to see, whether you're a fast trader like Barry and Real and some of the good scalpers in his room, or a swing trader like myself or Andy, or an auto trader, like Jamie and Michael. So it's a powerful relationship, human being and machine working together. That's where the power and the strength is. All right, let's talk about today. Market recap. I'm going to add sectors into there too as well. Andy will do the AI recap. Thankfully, we did not get the Tuesday curse on the AI. Trade of the week was cash. I'll talk to you all about why I decided to derive that as the trade of the week. Got a new scan, dive into the 50. Dive to the 50 is what it's called. So we'll talk about that and I'll share it, of course, as I always do. I'm stealing Andy's content. He came up with this concept and I just love it. It's a great interactive with the audience and uses our price alert tool. Price alert contest. Yes, I will end with some chart requests like we always like to do. But before we get there, start thinking about if you want to send me and hold on to them, just scratch them down. We'll call for them all at once so we don't miss them. But what we'll do is we'll say, give us the symbol and the price at which you would like to have the price alert trigger. That could be a price higher than the current price, or it could be a pullback to a price currently lower than the current price. So just put that on the back burner. Think about what you might want to submit. We'll grab, see how many come in, and then we'll revisit them next week. Oh, one more thing also. Tell me what you want me to put in the notes, because it's always good to revisit the notes. So give you the symbol, the price that your trigger is going to be, and your notes, and we'll collect them and put them all into a bin. And we'll kind of see what happens when we reconvene next week. All right.
And you'll also, Steve, have to put the person's name in the
Oh,
notes as
yes.
well. Yep.
Yes, I will put their name. Yes, I will see your name. So that will work. Thank you for that reminder, Andy. All right. What a 2-day turnaround. What a crazy market. I mean, the 50-day moving average, the legend of the 50, just lives on. Its reputation is, hang on one second here. Let's get rid of the British guy in that account. Okay. The 50-day moving average is hindsight in play. In the moment of battle yesterday, not really quite sure what it was going to do, but I tell you, that's why statistics and probabilities probably have a seat in the world, because somebody was paying attention back there. It wasn't me. I was not laying in wait, waiting to buy things at the 50, kind of like I haven't been the last couple times. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. But I have some really interesting observations for you. Um, First off, it kind of dovetails with the trade of the week, but going into the weekend, that's all we had to work with right there. We had one really pretty juicy, what we call a engulfing candle, a bearish engulfing candle, meaning it started higher, finished lower, painted the prior day's bar with solid red, engulfed it, gave it a big hug. And that transposed into a Monday, pretty big gap down, sell off, but the buyers jumped in at the 50. Now, some of the biggest moves are when people lose the fear and realize that they may have just missed the trend. And so the buyers kick back in, and we have a vicious bounce like we had today. Now, I'm going to call up the 15-minute chart, because I noticed something really interesting today. Those of you that know me know that on my 15-minute chart, I only have two indicators. I have the 10-period simple moving average on my 15-minute chart, which showed us kind of support there midday. And I also have this blue line, which is a 130 candle average, which works out to be a perfect 5-day rolling moving average that updates every 15-minute candle. So moving averages don't necessarily tell you what to do when you get there, but they, as my friend Brian Shannon likes to call them, rightfully so, they point out and call out areas of interest, levels of interest. And in this case, I think it's pretty darn obvious to see why I like the 10-period moving average and the 50. I mean, here was our relief rally. It started on the close yesterday and then just followed through today. Where did the sellers jump in? They jumped in here, 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 here. And so this becomes an area of interest. This area of interest can tell us a lot of things. It can tell us, hey, if you were one of the smart people and you bought the dip yesterday at the 50 and trusted it into the close, held it overnight, you might want to take some off the table and get your rewards here. If you're somebody like me who didn't buy it and is just in watching mode right now, I'm going to use it to wait and see, well, can it get through it? And can it settle above it, and can it hold above it? Well, it did for a moment, and then it just rolled back down into the range and gave us a puked up our giant volume bar, which, by the way, if you've been paying attention, the algorithms that run this market, the quants that run this market, they don't take risk home overnight. So there's always the regurgitation belch bar at the very end of the day on this 15-minute chart. You can probably even see it on a 5-minute chart even more. But these are the algos not taking risk home. They're done. They've done their thing, and they pretty much have to get out before the bell. So I'm just noticing, and all it really tells me is that we're in a algo-driven market more so than ever, meaning it's just kind of algorithmic noise out there until something happens. It's, the supply and demand. It doesn't really feel like it's true, but it is what it is. The price action is what it is. So I
I
use these
like.
two simple. What's that?
I can't help it, man. I cracked up over here. I like that belch bar.
Belch bar. At the end of the day, it just coughs it up because they ain't taking it home. Man, not taking that risk home. They got
Oh,
indigestion. And so every single day we get a belch bar. There's our belch bar. That's a good belch bar on that day. That day, that day, that day, that day. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up, you guys. The end of, the machines run Bartertown, and at the end of the day, they've done their work and they get square, they get flat. And that's what I'm seeing out there. Okay, so Nasdaq, same kind of a thing. Interestingly enough, the 10-period moving average held midday. The 5-day average acted as a lid. So I mean, I don't know how much more um, price action I can give between the SPYs just now and the Qs right there as to why I really like these just two simple moving averages. And they don't tell me what to do. They just help me make decisions based on what I'm currently doing. And what I'm currently doing is still sitting on my hands. So I'm going to wait and see if this market wants to turn around and build some days back above the key moving averages. I mean, it has not lost on me that both of them kind of rolled over and closed a little bit below that 5-day moving average, which I'm not going to put too much stock in. But I'm going to be watching closely. Once again, if this market's going to recover, both the S&P and the Nasdaq are going to reclaim their 10-period moving average, and they're going to close above it. And if they close above it and just start hanging out again, well, then maybe I'll start looking for something, that works. But the problem is it seems like, when the market seems ready to go higher, it's a real stock picker's market. You got to be in it, right? I was talking to Andy before we came on. I think probably one of the smartest guys here right now at the Trade Ideas that are banging around on their own accounts is Sean. Sean has been trading options around key core positions of the big ones. He's probably got some Facebook, he's probably got some Google and some Amazon. He's doing it right. For me, that's just not the game I really wanted to play. In hindsight, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But that's the stuff that's going higher, the big stuff, because the stuff that I like to play and Andy likes to play, the more bang for your buck, typically just has been falling flat on its face. Kind of like, geez, remember that trade of the week 2 weeks ago, Swabby, which is going to show up here in a second, blew through our 20-period moving average. Come on.
What the heck?
I know it's really freezing up on
But
me here.
your 15-minute
I know.
chart switched.
I know it's not updating. I know my chart.
Oh,
There
wow.
we go. I know my system. It's so blew through the 20 as we talked about. We cut it because it closed above the 20, ripped the band-aid off. Good thing in hindsight, it just kept bleeding. And another example of a area of interest right there at the 50-day moving average. Found some support yesterday. I think Andy was actually dabbling with it a little
I
bit.
bought it today, yeah.
Yeah,
I
try to
bought
figure out what it wants to
it right
do.
here.
We'll see what it wants to do. We'll see if it wants to hold above that 50. But let's see, what was what was the last, somebody reminded me what last week's trade of the week was.
Uh,
Liliana, the blue indicator is a
Sport? Was it sport?
was it SPRT? Yes, we were laughing about that one this morning. I think it was
Yeah,
that one.
look at
Yeah,
that.
or 2 weeks
Woo.
ago. Yeah, that's no fun. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's really hard out there. But Liliana, I'm going to show you real quickly. All I do is I go and I add an indicator, and I add a simple moving average, SMA, and I put the period at 130. That is on my 15-minute chart. I'm going to do you guys one better before we move on here. I'm just going to share my cloud link of my chart settings with you guys. And I'll just send that into the chat window right now. Steve's chart. All right. Since we don't have a trade of the week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute when Andy gets back, but I want to go through the sectors real quick because we're
When I
going to
get
do that
back.
when you come back from your AI recap.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go through these quickly and see if anything stands out sector-wise that I like that might be worth keeping an eye on. I don't know. We're going to go through this together. I haven't really done this yet, but let's see what we find. Okay, that was the airlines, retail, giant bounce there. I think there's going to be a lot of messy charts with a lot of big, KRE. You had something you wanted to say about that, didn't you, Andy?
No, yeah, this is
No.
what makes it so difficult. I do. Matter of fact, Steve, is if you look up on the daily there, there you go. I mean, for KRA was basically leading the charge today, and there was another one. I think XLF was up there, and I cannot remember the other one. I'll have to look. But anyway, they were stocks that had been beaten up, very ugly looking charts, and those were the leader on the board today, and that's what makes it very difficult. When you have this rotation. And they counted for a lot of the gains that we had today, and it's just. Getting back to the SPYs, I'm pretty much in the same boat I was last week. I'm still short in SPXS. But what I do is this morning I bought a couple of stocks, to play the rallies. One of them actually did pretty good. Swabby didn't do anything, but I still kind of position myself because I think the advanced decline line is horrible right now. And you are seeing a lot of underlying weakness, which I think at some point, that's just my personal opinion. Trust me, if we go to all-time highs, I will get out and, you know, take my lumps. It won't be a big lump, but I want to be positioned when things. And I think Steve is kind of in the same boat he was a few days ago. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I haven't really changed much, but I want to get my foot on that football if things do turn.
oh yeah,
Maybe it's the ego in me. I don't know.
exactly. Sure, sure.
Um, all right, I'm going to continue on here. I think solar is probably the most interesting thing I've found so far. I thought it was kind of interesting as it was holding up, then it pulled back into a deep dive and plunge, tested the 50. We're going to talk about this more later. Popped above. Solar might be one that might have some decent meat on the bone after a nice pullback there. Same kind of with software there. Real quickly, how's Netflix faring?
Oh,
We
they've recouped
they've
back to
recovered.
flat.
Yeah. They basically didn't show any good net subscriber growth, but that's okay. It doesn't matter in this market. Doesn't matter. All right, let's keep looking here. Home builders just kind of going sideways below their 50. IYR just every week for the life of me. I can't figure out why the REITs are so strong, but that's a strong
I
looking
think it's
chart.
just real estate. I think it's just has to do with real estate market
Real
just going
estate in
crazy
general,
right
you're just
now.
sitting on an asset that's just
Yep.
appreciating quickly.
Yep.
I got, focused on the strip mall and the office building side of it, during COVID,
Hmm.
but what do I know? All right, oil service. Oh, pretty big bounce in oil service off the 200 day. That's kind of significant. Yeah, keep an eye
Hmm.
on the solars and oil tomorrow, possibly. Well, those are the two that stand out so far. Everything else is kind of a
But boy,
mess.
not a lot of great looking sectors out
No,
there.
and I forgot to mention going into the weekend too, in the trade of the week being selected as cash. You talk about one mother of an engulfing candle. When that's all you see right there. Let me turn that back off. When that's all you see, that was it was a pretty ominous sign going into the weekend. And I guess what I'm going to really talk about is there was no scan that looked good to me. The engulfing patterns were ominous. As Andy said, the breadth was horrible. You couldn't really find much going on. Oh, the divergence was off the chart. I think I talked about
Hmm.
the divergence before. Let's just do that real quick for people who
Sure.
don't see that. I'm going to take spam. I'm going to not take a spam call. I'm going to take my indicators. I'm going to add an RSI, and we're going to look at the momentum and how that looked. Okay. SPY might even be
Spy.
a better one. Yeah, SPY was the one that really had the look. So we had a market moving higher in price in the S&P, but it was doing so with less oomph behind it. That is textbook bearish divergence. Okay, the underpinnings of the new highs were just not there. And I swear I just could not find a single thing. And the way some of these have been behaving lately, the last thing we're going to do is force a trade just for the sake of content and forcing it. So for the sake of it, sometimes the jump rope was just not right. If yesterday was Friday, we're going to look at a scan here in a minute that has some interesting trades in it, but we didn't have it. The ball wasn't lined up. The jump rope wasn't in sync. We didn't get a trade of the week this week. So we'll just go ahead and call that segment done. That's how we derived at that one. And I'll let Andy take it over and talk about what the AI did today.
Okay. Let me grab it real quick. All right, so I got pulled up the doc, guys, the channel bar doc that you guys have access to now. Just go to new, and you can find the doc channel bar, and you can pull that up, and then you can cruise through the channels now in a nice little organized doc for you. Well, this is the Omni channel. You can see the Omni channels on. And what kind of a mixed bag today. All in all, finished up on the day, but I noticed over here in the channel bar that aggressive was the winning segment, or the winning risk. Uh, Risk, what's the word I'm looking for, risk segment or whatever, and we just don't live by that. Okay, aggressive is a very dangerous one to follow. And the reason it is, it does not adhere to the stop. So you can see down here this $418 loss in one because it did not stick with the stop price. it will keep counting. Okay, we leave it in there just to let you guys know where the tally would be, or or if maybe somebody wants to do a trade around and jump back in, they can look over here and see one that got stopped out is turning green or something like that. But it's not one we're going to calculate, as far as our back office goes, as far as maintaining a performance on it. We only maintain a performance on conservative and moderate. And they were pretty close today. Actually, conservative was the big winner, not much, $419 according to my allocation, which is based on $200 risk of the stop. Is like tallied through. You can see moderate actually finished down 480, and aggressive, even though two of the segments did well in aggressive mode overall, it was still down on the day. So we don't pay a whole lot of attention to aggressive, but we do want to focus on moderate and conservative. And conservative outperformed today. And I think probably one of the main reason you had a $600 difference here in this CAH that did have a nice little pop this morning. There's your buy signal. Okay, on this first candle, ran up about $1 and then retreated back. And of course, if you stayed in it all day, you didn't do very well. You got stopped out actually. But other than that, this CHS I thought was a beauty. Not much to look at on the daily. It is from a strategy called Mighty Mouse, which means it's going to be a lower price stock. In this case, it's around $5 or $6, and a nice little trade there in CAH with a moderate conservative profit of basically 8.38%, and then a moderate profit of 6%. So good trade there. Little short here. Yeah, I'm not going to brag about this one. It finally kind of rolled over, but really didn't do a whole lot. I'm not going to go through many of these. We'll look at Peloton down here, which was a short. Looked like it was going to do pretty good. Got out in conservative mode for a profit. If you did not get out and stayed in moderate, you got stopped out eventually. So it's kind of a mess today. Even though the market was kind of gapped up and went all day, the longs in this case, you had to be in the right stuff. I'm not seeing a lot of financials in here or a lot of home builders, and that was the kind of the leading sector. So, but all in all, it's an okay day. But I don't like when you have a lot of stops, and it's just the nature of the beast today for some reason. All right. I'll send it back.
While you do that, I realized I kind of stopped halfway through my sector list. I went through again. I didn't really find anything that stood out really much beyond solars and OIHs, the oil service. And then also for somebody asked, Shantha and anybody else that wants, I did drop a copy of the sector list, top list into the chat window as well, along with my chart cloud link. However, that sector top list window requires you to enter a symbol list, and those are the symbols that I had in that list. So that's all the noise that's there in the chat window. All right, so all this talk about, bouncing off the 50, right? The S&Ps, the trade of the week from 2 weeks ago, Smith & Wesson, or a week ago. A lot of significance of the 50. So how can we dial in trade ideas to show us things? And like I said at the onset, curate the fire hose of data and show us the things that we might want to see. So if we want to see things that have had a pretty good fallback down to the 50, I went ahead and I created something. I'm just going to configure it here. I'm calling this dive to the 50. Dive because we're making new lows, but more importantly, the filter that kind of does it is this one right here, the change in 10 days. A 10% dive. So if I put -10 in the maximum column of the change in 10 days percent filter, all I'm going to see are stocks making new lows that are at least down 10% on the prior 10 days coming into today. Additionally, the 50-day moving average filter is configured as such. I've got 0.1% positive in the max, not to exceed, and not to exceed lower than -0.1% below the 50 SMA. So I'm only going to be seeing these new lows at the 50 SMA on stocks that have come down at least 10% in the last 10 days. And there's probably some other things we could probably try and do, but I like to keep it simple and at least have the system curate and show me the ideas and then let my eyes tell me if I like it or if I don't like it. I don't want to miss things. So That being said, again, this is not a top list, this is an alert. The last thing that came through today was Zoom Media, ZM. All right, but what I want to do, there's today, I think Zoom Media was also on there yesterday. Two very similar looks that I actually kind of like. That's not a bad looking chart. Two parallel lines confirming bottoming tails, late day rally, buying off of the 50-day moving average. Interesting. Well, this one only came through at this morning at 9:39 a.m. I haven't seen any since then. Here's what I want to do. I want to show this to you guys. I'm going to go to yesterday's data. Let's see how, if we were playing this type of alert yesterday, where would we be today? Let's take a look. We've got some names in here. Well, first thing that jumps to mind is a solar stock. I just kind of said I confirmed I liked that solar stock sector, the tan sector, not bad. So now we're going to be keying off the blue arrow, which was yesterday's candle. And it looks like most of these were coming through pretty early in the morning, but we got 5 or 6 symbols here. So, you know, if you're somebody who likes to buy the dip, and I tell you, buying breakouts is not working. So if you're thinking about something that does likely have a shot at working, I think this is the kind of method that does right now. Letting all of that smoke and fire and brimstone clear itself out to the tune of at least 10%, and then find some areas of interest, right? There's that word again, area of interest. And stocks do behave kind of interesting at areas of interest, as First Solar did. What else was in there? Big C, never heard of this stock, but boy, that was kind of nice to know yesterday that this thing was making new lows after a precipitous drop into the 50. The buyers jumped in full force. And there's our double Zoom Media print. We got that one again this morning as well. That's a good question, Liliana. We'll take a look at that. It's probably not going to give us as many because her question is, what type of results would appear in this scan if we did a 20% filter over the last 10 days? We might still get a few of them, but we're scrunching it down. We're still going to get, let me put it this way, we're still going to get the same ones that we would get with a 10%. Now, of course, I'm going to share the scan and I can hand this out to you guys and you guys can play with it and go to history and see what it was given. What else did we get? We got PAGS yesterday. Beauty, nice test off that blue line 50 and a big push through today. So sometimes after they've fallen a good 10 days or so and they bounce off that 50-day moving average with the tail, the following day can be a good day. So this is what I'm saying. This can be the kind of scan that you might want to look for and see how are these stocks closing. You hear me talk about that all the time. How are these stocks going out on the day? How do they look? Well, here's one that didn't work that well today, even though it tried yesterday. But I think we can agree between First Solar and BIGC and PAGS, we've had some good bounces off of that 50-day. And the reason I like it is we're not trying to trade momentum and hope the momentum builds. We're finding turns, we're finding higher lows, we're finding trends, hopefully. So with that said, just a quick little dive into how we can make trade ideas work for us. We just got to come up with a thesis and ask ourselves, what is it that we want to know about in real time? And then we can kind of work backwards and reverse engineer ourselves into that. Just out of curiosity, let's see what would happen if we took that filter and made it a -20. We'd probably get less results, I'm guessing. Let's just see here. Nothing today. Whoops, that was today. Let's look at yesterday. It says it's loading. It doesn't like that. It looks like it doesn't like that at all. So I would recommend not going that deep. Matter of fact, probably the opposite direction is where you want to go. Maybe even turn that -10 into like a -5%, -7% maybe. -10%. All right. Make sure we got the right one. All right, there's Zoom Media today. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. We'll put it in the chat window. As always, dive to the 50. And again, the way I would use this is, if you're bold and you want to jump in, you can jump in the morning, but there's nothing that says it's going to close that way. That's why I like to wait and see how these things close up. And then you take it home with you from the very first get-go, as we saw on a couple of those stocks today that triggered yesterday. They didn't give you much time to jump in and chase. You're already positioned. All right, dive to the 50 is in the chat window. Yeah, David, you're right. We could probably flip it and then do the other things. Yeah, this is a perfect example of how you could flip something. So the flip would show us stocks making new highs up into a 50-period moving average. those could be interesting shorts, but the market doesn't really want to give those up just yet. It's more an individual case-by-case basis. Okay, so there's for Liliana, who says, I like this window, and anybody else that wants it, David can take it and flip it to his heart's desire if he likes, but it's in there in the chat window now. All right, anything you want to add on that scan, Andy? Did I miss anything?
No.
Missing any
I like it.
questions?
Yeah, I like it. I have a few things similar to that, but no, that's a good one.
All right, so I guess that brings us to, since we didn't have a trade of the week really to dissect and break down, we just didn't find anything, and the lesson is cash can be a position. We got a little extra time, so let's do. Let's see. We need 1 week in person in Canada. They won't let me in Canada, Liliana. They just won't let me across the line. I'm sorry. 10 SMA and SMA 130. Baiju, yeah, it's going to act as a level of interest. Sometimes it acts as support, sometimes it acts as resistance, but always seems to catch the attention of market participants. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Let's move into the segment where you guys want to give me some of your favorite stocks, maybe something that you're already in, or you just want to give me price alerts, what I'm looking for. You see how that's empty. You know, Andy figured this out as a cool little contest a couple months back, I think, and he just says, you know, if you've got something you're eyeballing, you want to throw your hat in the ring, let's see what we can come up with here, and we'll set some price alerts, and then we can even share it. So if you just give me the symbol, I'm just going to be able to look at the chart. But if you give me a symbol and you give me the trigger and some notes as to why you like it, maybe I'll put your name in the hat. While we do that, I will look at NVIDIA or Liliana. Again, if you want to put your name in the hat, give me a trigger price. Otherwise, we'll just look at the chart on its own merits. NVIDIA, the horse, has been very strong. Would love it if it had come down and hit that 50 yesterday, along with that congestion. It's kind of in no man's land here. They've got the moving averages curling over. It could kind of go anywhere from here. Not really sure. Okay, but you want to put an alert in at 213.11. Okay.
She's going way up there.
Going way up there.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where you want it, we're going to put it at 213.11. Nailed it. And we'll put your name in there. Gotcha. Okay. Liliana's down with NVIDIA breaking out. We got earnings coming up maybe? No, nothing. All right. Okay, so that one's set. There it is from below. All right, another one that I saw coming through here. Let's just look at Steven's chart real quick. There's no trigger, but PFMT is what he's mentioning. Kind of combine these two.
That's good.
I really like it. And you heard Andy's initial reaction too. I like that chart, Steven. Matter of fact, I don't know where you'd put a trigger on that. If you want to put a trigger on that, let me know. But that's a good looking chart. It's so hard to trust things right now, but this is the kind of stuff that was working so well last year with these consolidation wraps and then pushing back up above. But if you tell me where you'd want that to trigger, I'll pop that in there, Stephen. I'll come back to you. Gaj, DocU, long at 310. Let's see what type of alert this is going to be. Okay, so another breakout, wanting above 310. Looking back to see if I see anything. All right, so you're just looking for confirmation at the round number of 310, if I'm assuming that correctly. Long 310. Okay, let's do it. That was for let me open up my questions panel a little bit here. Okay, you are down at 310 on DocuSign.
Did you get staff?
No, I'm at TAP 56 TAP 5160 for Bill. So I didn't get down that low yet. Okay, TAP. Bill's going for the reversal play at 5160, up and away. Okay, let's just eyeball it and then we'll correct that. 51.60 for Bill. All right, Bill is down. Again, we're going to revisit these in 5 days and see what we got. Now we're at staff. Gary going for the small caps and staff. And he likes it above 387. Okay, so he's looking, let's go to the day. 387. Okay, so it's kind of that floor that was put in here midday. It's kind of what I'm seeing, low end of congestion above 387. And Gary is down on the small cap in staff. I got the right initials, good. Okay, and then we got Vincent who wants XTNT. I'm assuming it's not triggered yet. Ah, it's triggered after market. Okay, but you're putting
He wants
two.
it too.
Let's
Yeah.
just put 2 in there. And this is for Vincent. All right. It might clip it after hours. Looks like it's doing something after hours. All right. Where are we? Staff. XTNT.
CCIV.
Ah, I'm just reading David's comment. Yes, and he's responsible for reworking that channel bar. CCIV for Baiju. Do a few more here, then we'll bring Scott in. Hey, I like the way it's channeling up on its intraday. Let's take a look at the daily there. Pretty good bottoming candle, kind of in no man's land. It's going to fight its way through, and your trigger is going to be 29.60. Okay, so you're waiting for it to clear up here, clear these candles up here. 29.60 is what you've got, so I will put 29.60 in there. And that was for
And we got AMC.
AMC 4330. Oh, AMC, huh? Interesting. Had a good day today. 4330 is what you're wanting. 4330. Let's look at the intraday and see if there's anything interesting in there. 43 closing above yesterday's key moving averages. Okay, so 4330. All right, let's pop it in there. 4330. And that was for Dave. Dave might get some momentum behind that one. And when we revisit this on Tuesday, it doesn't mean Tuesday's the end date. It means let's just see, hey, how did it work Wednesday? How did it go Thursday, Friday? Hey, you got 10% out of this one. Hope you took some, you know. That's kind of the conversation I hope to be having with you guys, not just exactly where the stock is exactly next Tuesday, but let's see if we can get some movement out of this. All right, we'll do a couple more, and then we'll bring in Scott. We'll do Atos, and then we'll do Airbnb. That one's just a preview though. So you got 450 at ATOS. For Martin, 450 at ATOS. Let's draw it on the daily. Okay. Let's see how much movement we can get out of these. Martin K. And then I don't know if, guys, I don't think you don't want to submit this one. You just want me to take a look at Airbnb, I think. Oof. Really fighting it, isn't it? It's below all its key moving averages. Now that could be a double bottom. That could be interesting. That you got that going for you. I would have liked to have seen it fully test the resolve of these people back at 129.80. Didn't quite get there, but if this thing can start closing above, these moving averages, could start to get interesting again. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We got ourselves a little bit of hat in the game from above. This doesn't look right. Bill E. That should not be from above. Did that one just trigger? Let's try this again. 51.60. There we go. We got that to reset. It should not be a short. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So let's edit that. It should be a long. And there we go. Okay. So with all these set, we'll revisit next week, see what you guys are onto, but I will share these out as well so all of you guys can follow as well throughout the week. If one of them triggers, it'll trigger for us all. I'll pop these in here and call it price alerts and say thank you guys for your questions this week. Hopefully we'll find a good trade of the week that is setting up other than just cash this weekend, but we're not going to force it. We'll see what we come up with. And any questions, info@trade-ideas.com. We'll bring in Scott for any final announcements. Thank you guys for your attention.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So a couple of things on the way out. There's a good ebook we released recently, the Strategy Indicators ebook. It has Dave Mabe, our Director of Software Development's favorite ways to use our strategy indicators, alerts and filters. So do go ahead and grab a free copy. It's tradeIdeas.com/strategy. Just plug in your email, get the download, and check it out. It's got some links in there for you too. Trade Ideas podcast, go ahead and check that out. Add us as a subscription so you catch the next one we release. And check out the ones we released earlier this year, the interviews. They're quite good, so worth your time. We do have one of our most popular things is coming up in August, 2 weeks, August 9th, August 20th is the test drive. Sign up in advance, make sure you have your ticket, and it's going to cost $11.11 for 2 full weeks of premium trade ideas. So if you're on standard, you can try that out and check out what the premium features are all about. If you don't have a subscription yet, you get to test everything out. We'll have some special support sessions during the day where you can come and ask questions, all that kind of good stuff. So tradeIdeas.com/test drive. Make sure you get your reservation in. As a code, if you decide you want to start up a subscription right now, use the code SUNSHINE. Saves you 15% off any Trade Ideas subscription or upgrade. And we're going to retire that one at the end of the month, so make sure you use it. You can find Steve on Twitter at TISteveG, and also find us at Trade Ideas at QuantBot. Trade Ideas Pro is us on Facebook, and send your questions to info@tradeIdeas.com. That goes to our help desk. We're going to have a recording of this up later on tonight or tomorrow, so keep tuned for an email reminder tomorrow about how to find it. Thank you, Andy and Steve. Have a nice one, everyone.
All right. Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.